Okay, so this particular pump here, this aerator pump, it's from Whirlwind. It hasn't been serviced in years, and here's why I think it hasn't been serviced in years. Okay. Now I did try to do some repairs to it, didn't work, as you can see, obviously. But this is what the old diaphragm looks like, completely ripped out. Now, as you can see that, you would think, oh my God, you need to replace that pump because this is probably going bad or something. That's why you have so much rust buildup. No, that's not the case. The reason why was this, when the diaphragm gets damaged like this, destroyed, this is why you should service your pump. I didn't service it because I just bought this house and I was able to service it when I came to check the pumps and all that stuff. This goes bad. It sits right here. It sits right there. So when it goes bad, it'll start floating in there. This side will also be floating in there. When that happens, you can't keep this straight. It can't stay centered anymore. So then it leans up against these two metal and it starts rubbing up against it. Starts to rub against it, creating metal shavings. And then when that happens, your pump won't produce any air and you'll just be wasting electricity on something that's not really working. And in most cases, people will tell you to replace your pump because your pump is now bad or something like that, which is not. You can just go ahead and order your parts from Septicparts, and then they will send you a new diaphragm with a new filter and all that stuff, which you should also clean every 3 months. You should service your pump every 3 months just to check it, clean the filter, inspect it, make sure the diaphragm and everything's good on it. And once that's good, you should be good. So for this one particularly, when I opened it up, it was just all rusty everywhere. As you can see, it's not anymore because I cleaned it. I took it apart, disassembled it, took these 2 screws out, took everything apart, took these three, come slides right out. You just wipe it down with some rubbing alcohol, clean all excessive rust buildup, dirt, whatever it is that's in there, and you should be good. Once you do that, you throw your new diaphragms on there. It's brand new. And once you do that, this should work just fine. And I'll show you. All right, so now it's halfway back together. We got all the screws on there. When you put this back together, just make sure you just don't tighten it. Tighten. No, you just put the screws in like you would do it like you were putting on a car tire or something like that. It's kind of how you do it. Don't over tighten it because it might not align like it should. But I think I've said this earlier, one thing is you want to make sure you see the gap, you want to have a gap in between these two. You don't want it to be slanted a little bit to where it's laying on this, and it's easy to miss especially when you put your pump back together. You come back to service it in 3 months and you see like excessive rust buildup and stuff like that. It's probably because the way you put it back together, it was rubbing up on this. So then you just go ahead and just take this off, loosen the screws inside, slant it a little bit, to where you have spaces in between here. What I like to do, I have to take my fingers, put it here, hold it straight as I tighten this side, then hold this side and then tighten this side. And like that, I get my gap in between this. You want that gap in right there. So when it goes back and forth rapidly, it won't rub up against this piece or that piece. So that's it right there. All right, so this is it. As you can see, my pump is missing. I don't have the semi cover packing, so it's not here. What they did was they had put glue around this to kind of keep the cap on it. However, the glue wore off, and as you can see, they glued it. The glue wore off, and it just started rattling. So I started getting loud rattling sounds. To fix that, I took a little washer. You see that right there? Took a little washer and I put the plastic washer right there. So then now what happens is when I put this cover on, it sits right on there. See, without the washer before, when the pump kicked on, this is all I heard because the glue had worn off. with the washer on there now, remember I don't have the semi cover packing. If I did, this wouldn't be a problem. It'll just sit snug. Since I don't have it, I will just go ahead and just put that washer, tighten it down. Nothing. Just put the power back on to the pump. As you can see, it's shooting air out. As you can see, my red light's on. Air's leaking. If you got this hooked up to the system, the light will go off. Air. That's all that is. Now it's hooked up. Lights off. Everything's good to go. We're good to go.